Hello, I'm Mr. Laneous, reviewer of the Miscellaneous. Well, the time has come yet again. Another Christmas has passed, and soon we'll be leaving this year behind and entering a new one. You know what that means. I finally get to watch Rudolph's Shiny New Year again! The 1976 Rankin Bass New Year Special! Like I've said in the past, this is one of my all-time favorite December time specials. But why is that? Why do I love this one so much when it could easily be argued that it's not that great? Let's take a look. First things first, let's go over the story. Happy, the baby New Year, has run away right after Christmas, and Rudolph sets off to the archipelago of last year's to find him before December 31st. Along the way, he meets a cast of colorful characters, including Ben Franklin?
I'm 1776, but my friends call me Sev.
I know, technically he's 1776, but screw it, we're all gonna call him Ben Franklin. But Rudolph also comes across the dreaded Eon the Terrible, a monster bird who's also looking for Happy. You see, Eon is doomed to turn to ice and snow once he's lived a full Eon, and as screenwriting devices would have it, this New Year marks the end of that Eon. Of course, if he can keep the baby New Year from getting back home, and therefore keep December 31st going indefinitely, then he can live forever. Now, you're probably still wondering why Happy ran away in the first place. Turns out he was embarrassed by everyone laughing at his huge ears. Everywhere he goes, people always end up laughing at his ears.
Those ears!
Wait a minute. A young child being mocked for his oversized ears? Methinks I sense a ripoff, don't you? Obviously, this is like that other animated story about a young child who was ostracized because of his large ears, only in that case it was more depressing. That's right! This is Nestor the long-eared Christmas donkey! Nestor totally ripped this off! Look it up! Shiny New Year aired in 76 and Nestor aired in 78! They even have the gall to put Shiny New Year and Nestor on the same DVD together! That's right, kids! You can watch one of two cute upbeat holiday specials, or you can pick the ugly depressing one. Besides, if I want to hear Brenda Vaccaro's voice in a melancholic stop-motion film, I have Kubo and the Two Strings for that! It's an odd choice, but it's there. And I'd bring that up, but then we'd have a fight between an elephant and a donkey, and that probably wouldn't end well for anyone. Of course you can guess how the special ends. Rudolph and friends get trapped in snowballs, Happy is stuck with Eon forever as his slave, and the old year goes on for the rest of eternity. I turned that into a 2016 sucks joke, but they already make it clear what year Happy represents.
19 wonderful.
Somehow avoids dating it, but dates it at the same time. Interesting. Okay, it ends happily thanks to a Santa Ex Machina, and the new year goes on as scheduled. They even save Eon from his fate by filling him with laughter at the sight of Happy's ears.
Nobody can turn to snow and ice when he's all warmed up inside with laughing.
Of course you can't have a Rankin Bass special without musical numbers! And this special is no exception. So how do the songs here measure up in no particular order? Unsurprisingly, we get a cover of Rudolph's namesake tune. It's a cute animation sequence, but it's kinda just the song. Why does Santa look like a mousy elf thing?
Rudolph, do you have some cheese?
The song that plays while Rudolph starts off for the archipelago makes a nice transition.
Remember the good times that you knew. Don't remember the bad times you've been through.
Then why bring them up? Oh, and the caveman gets a fun anthem of optimism called It's Raining Sunshine, strangely not related to the Miranda Cosgrove song.
It's raining sunshine when you smile away your tears.
The scene where they search the fairy tale island gets a kinda generic Rankin Bass song about how wonderful fairy tales are. Clearly no pecking out eyes or murder happening here. The 1776 island gets a generic 4th of July song, which is okay, I guess, but it's kinda odd to have a 4th of July song in a December time special, isn't it? The actual holiday at hand does get its own admittedly generic, but still enjoyable tune.
Happy New Year.
Rudolph has a song late in the show that's easily my least favorite. It's just a, at the risk of sounding like a broken record, generic, have faith song.
Have a little faith in me, and day by day, I'll make your dreams all come true.
I can see why they cut this song out on TV broadcasts nowadays.
As they say,
To put in more commercials, the bastards. On the other hand of the cut on TV songs, you get one that leans more towards being hauntingly beautiful. It sings about the passage of time and how we won't get it back.
The moving finger writes, and having writ moves on. So treasure memories, for what is gone.
A dark topic, sure, but the way the song sounds helps sell the idea of how big a thing the passage of time is, which is what the dialogue leading to it tries to convey.
For the passing of time is awe-inspiring. It's the one certain thing in all the universe. In a way, it's like an old king stepping down and a new one taking its place.
So as you can tell, not every song hits a bullseye, and I won't lie, this special probably isn't the greatest thing in the world. Some things probably could have been handled better. For instance, the way Rudolph gets happy to stop feeling bad about people laughing at his ears.
those ears made me feel so wonderful that all the happiness inside me just had to pop out. Same way with everybody else. Those ears of yours, they make folks happy.
That might not be the best moral to put out there. I mean, yeah, it's good to spread joy, but what if it's cruel mocking? Granted, I'm not sure it truly reaches that level. Hell, they even say at least twice that cruelty was never the intention.
No one meant to be cruel. Those bears didn't mean to be cruel.
But Happy is still being laughed at for having, for lack of better words, an abnormality. What about when people actually are being cruel? It's okay that you're being tortured because it makes the torturer happy? That doesn't sound entirely healthy. But what else is off in Storytellingville? Well, the old years that join Rudolph on the quest don't really do that much once they get off their respective islands. They kinda just hang around with Rudolph and get trapped in snowballs later. Ben Franklin's probably the worst offender at this. He never even helps Rudolph that much on his own island. At least OM lifts Rudolph's spirits and Sir 10-3 helps guide them around his island. By the time Ben Franklin joins the team, they immediately have to leave his island so they can pursue Eon. Hell, Ben Franklin actually screws things up more for them. He causes Happy to show his ears in public, humiliating him and making him run off again.
Hey, little fella, your hat. Got to show respect for the flag.
As if his presence wasn't weird enough, he has to be the least useful. And of course, this thing has a ton of plot holes in it. Santa decides to send Rudolph instead of a search party because only Rudolph could see through the snowstorm going on. Why doesn't he send the search party out with Rudolph to guide them? Is Father Time just a one-year job? Based on the way he describes it in his introduction, I'd assume that he's always Father Time for all time. But the baby New Year shown during that Moving Finger Right song grows up into the Father Time we see throughout the special. So is Happy going to become the new Father Time, and then he'll pass it on the next year? The exact workings of the archipelago of last year's gets a little muddled.
When the old year's time is done, he retires to the archipelago and selects an island. And the island becomes his alone. Time stands still and remains just the same as it was during the year he reigned.
It's a cool idea, sure, but how exactly does time stand still in a year where changes happen? Which is pretty much every year. People die, or get born, or major life events happen, etc. 1776's island has every day be the 4th of July, but what about the stuff before that day? Do iPhones exist on the island of 2007? Is Disneyland open on the island of 1955? On the island of 2009, is Michael Jackson alive or dead? That still doesn't answer my question. Big Ben the Whale seems to run on conveniences. Rudolph's being attacked by Eon, Big Ben shows up to save him. Rudolph needs to travel around the archipelago, Big Ben transports him. They need to follow Eon. Big Ben is not only nearly as fast as him, but also knows how to get to Eon's home. They need to know how much time they have left before New Year's midnight. Big Ben has a working clock on his tail. I'll ignore the dinosaurs and fairy tales actually happening for simplicity's sake, but they ask Cinderella's prince twice if he's seen Happy. The Bear family doesn't try to chase after Happy when he heads for the dangerous woods, even though Baby Bear still says Happy is his friend. Happy somehow floats aloft for over 24 hours without any sort of nourishment and survives. Rudolph's slide apparently emits warmth. The trees and snow sing Rudolph's story and somehow don't wake up the sleeping Eon. He hears Happy make a joyful noise, but he doesn't hear a full chorus singing. Okay? The Santa Ex Machina. And of course probably the special's most glaring error. Rudolph never seems to remember that he can fly. Why can't Santa just fly a search party out to Father Time's castle? He flies to pick up everyone else about a week later, so we can assume Rudolph's flight abilities haven't worn off. Rudolph doesn't fly over the sands of Time Desert to get to Father Time's castle. Rudolph doesn't fly from island to island. Happy falls off of Eon, and Rudolph just stands there instead of flying up to catch him. And then when Happy is able to stop his fall, Rudolph doesn't fly after him when a sudden wind blows him away. Rudolph doesn't fly up to Eon's nest to get Happy, choosing to climb with everyone else. Like I said, because he flies with the other ranger at the end, practically a week after Christmas, we have to assume that he can fly whenever. He doesn't need magic feed corn or anything. He never says that he can only fly for certain periods of time. He just never flies. So why do I not only like this special, but go so far as to love it? Certainly there are things I enjoy about it. The premise and the villain are creative, some of the side characters are fun, and as I mentioned before, I do enjoy some of the songs. And as far as plot holes are concerned, well, we all have our varying degrees of suspension of disbelief and whatnot. Nightmare Before Christmas has a bunch of flaws, but remains my personal favorite movie, whereas the plot holes in Frosty the Snowman made me laugh out loud. Then again, that ties into another factor of why I enjoy this so much. I don't have an attachment to Frosty. I didn't see it until a few years ago. Nightmare, Shiny New Year, and a bunch of other Rankin Bass specials, on the other hand, I've been watching for years. Back in my first Bubby review, I briefly touched on how part of the reason I love the Rugrats Hanukkah so much is because I've known it practically forever. Though that one probably holds up better than the other examples. Yeah, relying on nostalgia factor is a cheat, I'll admit, but it's still true! There is a nostalgic connection to these things. And when it's a holiday special, you get to have your nostalgia satiated at least once a year. And that return is made even more special because these things have become associated with a special and particular time. Sure, I suppose nostalgia is always for a special and particular time, but holiday specials are upfront about it. And boy does Rudolph's Shiny New Year associate itself with a special and particular time. Do you know what one of my favorite holidays is, if not the favorite holiday? New Year's. Because of the monumentous feeling that comes with it. Sure, it could qualify as one of those things where you go through a change, but you physically don't feel different. But you can still feel the approach coming. A year that seemed like it was far off in the future is now becoming the present. With New Year's, we get an actual marker of the passage of time. And with the approach of a new year, we get a chance to look back at this past year we've had. Was it a good year? Was it a bad? Was there a mix of the two? Was it more bad than good? Was it more good than bad? But in any case, we get a chance to restart. We're entering the future. We get a whole new year to start over, to renew, to hope things go right in this new year. We're never certain if the new year's gonna go right, but the hope is there. We move onward, the past becomes the past. Like they say in this special, the moving finger writes, and having read moves on. And while this may not be the only New Year special out there, it's the one I became the most attached to. And therefore, it's become a necessary part of the New Year's experience for me. And that's why I love this special. And that was Rudolph's Shiny New Year. What do I think? Oh, right. In any case, I hope you have an incredible new year. Thank you for watching. Hope to see you again in the mist.
War Committee will heed General Washington's request. A party consisting of Mr. Chase, Dr. Franklin, and myself will leave immediately.
Is that satisfactory with you, Dr. Franklin?
Wake up, Franklin. You're going to New Brunswick.
Like hell I am. What for?
The whoring and the drinking.